All right, welcome to episode number 14 of It's Server Time. Today, our guest is Swisher, and we're going to be focusing and diving deep in North American Counter-Strike. So, welcome, Swisher. I think people best know you, Swisher, for playing for Peaker's Advantage. I think that is like the most famous team you definitely played on at any point. But no, if you guys don't really know Swisher, he's on Bad News Bears, one of the what rank? The HLTV rankings actually just got updated, and you are on the 4th rated North American team. And I did NA, not even US, so right behind Extra Salt and pretty much above all the other premier teams. But yeah, welcome Swish. How's it going today?
Thank you. Pretty good. Early morning.
For gamer hours, yes.
Yeah, gamer hours, yeah.
All right. Let's just get into it. Swisher, I got a couple questions for you to start. The first is actually, if you guys are not familiar, Swisher is a pretty consistent Twitch streamer, actually. I would say, actually, Swisher, what's your like schedule like? And I feel like I see you with definitely like 100+ viewers nearly all the time now. So
Yeah.
How frequently are you doing that?
Almost every day. I kind of usually stop practice ends an hour and a half where I'm eating, chilling with my family, and then boom, streams on FPL.
Oh, nice.
And that goes on till either I cry because of my ping issues or I just end the night because FPL is done or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious what you think the value is. I guess, I mean, in any respect, what is the value you get as a player out of streaming?
Honestly, like it helps build your brand so much. Casey Foster, I don't know if you guys know him.
Yeah, old school
back,
ESEA guy, or
yeah,
netcode guides. I think he did.
yep.
Also, yeah.
Probably a little over a year ago now. He was, I was talking to him a bit, and he was telling me like how much I really should work on my brand. And he said just generally like almost every player in the North American scene should work on their brand and try to reach out to more people. And that really kind of took in with me. And I was averaging 1 or 2 viewers at the time, and then FPL started coming back up and coming and getting a lot bigger, and all of a sudden my stream blew up, and honestly I'm having a great time doing that.
What res do you play on?
1680 by 1050, 1610.
How long have you been on it?
Charles res.
I guess it's acceptable.
Over a year.
That's good.
You need, if you're gonna stream, you need a good res. You know, it's gotta look pretty.
Yeah.
So people want to see a nice game. They don't want to see fucking
exactly
4-3 black bars.
800, 600.
I am glad you bring that up though, because like it's something that's hard to have like a tangible impact on just by saying, oh, players should build their brands. But the fact is that like if you look at yourself and you look at Cooper and you look at the way that you guys have like actual support, if you go to any match that your team plays or that Triumph plays, you can see in the Twitch chat that there's subscribers of yours that are spamming emotes from your chat that are like, oh, Bad News Bears to the moon, or like Cooper's egg face or something, you know? So it's, I think at least now you can see that there's some tangible impact, but the fact is that a lot of players just don't generally understand what building your brand means. And the fact is that you're individually bringing viewers to your team's matches. And that is what really brings organizations to the table. They're like, oh shit, this person can bring us 200, 300 extra viewers that we wouldn't get otherwise just based on their own brand. That's what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, I specifically mentioned like every match we play going into match. I'm like, hey guys, remember to tweet. Like we're still orgless out here. Gas is going up, and we're still orgless. Not gonna be able to drive for much longer. But yeah, it really is important. I don't know why people don't do it.
Yeah, you got a couple guys that I think have pretty decent profiles. I'd say you, Jonji, and PTR. No offense to like Alter or Spongy, but like I think you three are pretty well known now. PTR definitely. I mean, he's been in the scene for a long time.
Yeah.
I guess on the topic of him though, I'm curious like what he's your in-game leader, right, Peter?
Yep.
Okay, I'm curious what kind of structure does he bring to your team? How loose, how rigid is it compared to maybe teams you've been on the past?
It's kind of on the earlier side. It was a lot more like a lot of structure. It was almost too much structure, kind of for the current meta in CS. And I was kind of telling him like we need to calm it. I feel like we need to calm it back down a little bit. We're trying to do too many things and these teams are just running at us, giving us free kills, and we can't even set up an execute because it's going to be 3v3 or 3v4 or something. But we're kind of adopting to a more looser style, more defaulty, a lot more defaulty now, and just reactionary, which is I feel like currently in the meta.
On that note, I mean, you guys lost to Extra Salt in the DreamHack qualifier, and then you beat them in Premier. And I think after you guys beat them, madcow had an interview saying that you guys sort of talked over that loss and changed up some things. Can you sort of just expand on that? Like, what sort of impact did that conversation have on you guys?
We definitely felt like we should have won the qualifier match. What maps did we even play? I don't remember. Let me pull it up. There's been so many matches recently.
Yeah, I don't remember any of my matches anymore.
You
I think we
guys-
played Train Inferno.
Yeah.
Train Inferno.
16-12 and 16-12.
Okay, I think at both of those. So our train, we kind of knew what to expect coming from their train. We just weren't ready for it. I guess that's probably one of our more lesser practice maps. Coming into the next match, we actually beat them on train, ruining their 100% win streak for the past 3 months. That felt good.
What's the hardest thing to handle about their train?
Their team mid pops are just
Yeah,
they're just up.
Yeah.
God damn it! It's
Just
just they've
blinds-
always been a thing.
God flashes.
Yeah.
You never know
Th-
when someone's out. You never know. Like we would just send like Ricky out, and like he would just sit in the sandwich smoke, and then
Yep.
flash him out. Everyone's blind. Just do the smoke. It's just like
That's
just works
Fang now.
every time. Yeah, and it's Fang now. Just works every time.
Sometimes MarKE goes out, sometimes JT goes out. Also, like half the time, so like for people that aren't familiar with it, like listeners, it's like you guys basically. Actually, I say you guys, and no one's even on the team here. But basically, like it's a sandwich smoke and an e-box smoke nearly every round, and then you guys like JT's just chucking flashes over from kind of the dumpster area, and then like some of the time it's like just Fang that goes out. Sometimes it's like 3 people that go out, and sometimes you just don't know unless you like get in their faces and find out that info. You're just lost. It sucks. I noticed that teams. This is a tangent, but I notice a lot of teams when they see that kind of play, by the way, they'll just like run a guy through sandwich. I think that's like Yakinder's job, that's Dupree's job, that's Boomich's job. Like a lot of top teams have a guy that's designated to try to counter that particular play. But let's talk about actually some of your teammates. I'll start with Jonji. Actually, first of all, why couldn't he play at DreamHack Open?
So actually, he's for the last like 2 or 3 weeks, he's been at his girlfriend's house in New York. Playing from there, and he was actually scheduled to fly back the weekend before during the DreamHack qualifier, DreamHack Masters Spring, but he actually pushed it back because we felt like that was arguably like a bigger tournament because that was a trip to Europe if we won that one.
Yeah.
So he pushed the flight back. We unfortunately lost to Extra Salt there. So then that overlapped with the time frame of the DreamHack Open 44.
So he was flying back?
With I think the Canada restrictions, he had to fly back and then pay for a hotel himself to stay like 3-ish days till he got a negative result back.
They do that.
The current Canadian restrictions are basically that if you travel into Canada, you have to quarantine in a hotel for 3 days while you get your COVID test back. And then after you get that test result back, and if it's negative, then you can go somewhere else and you still have to quarantine for up to 2 weeks. Basically.
Okay. That makes sense.
So he is obviously stuck in a hotel with no PC.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Super unfortunate.
Yeah.
He was messaging the group chat like the entire tournament, going like, "Hey guys, I'm drinking. I'm on this king bed. You guys better win."
Just chilling and watching. Actually, I'm curious about. So if people don't really know Swisher's history, he actually played for Gaming for a while. So that was kind of the team, the Brazilian team that decided to mix in a couple of players. It was when you joined, who else did they add? Was it Booby?
We played with Tatazine for probably about a month, and then we were looking for a replacement for him. We tried out twice, and then Booby. And Booby was the one we went through.
Okay. Again, if listeners don't know, Booby is just Bew. He changed his name for probably a very good reason. Actually.
I think ESL forced they restricted his name on ESL streams.
Oh really?
He wasn't allowed to have it. Yep.
Oh, on HLTV, I think he's just Bew now though.
Yeah, I think he requested to have it changed. I think
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because
I see.
yeah,
Yeah, it'd be a little awkward to say on the desk constantly, Booby did this, Booby did that.
yeah.
So.
dude, 2 years ago, I knew that this would happen eventually. Like, I knew if he ever made it into like a good NA team, that he'd have to just change his name.
Okay, so I'm curious, like when you, because there's like a lot of teams that are doing this. Like, I mean, Junior's doing this with Furia. I think the first obvious example is Stewie joining MIBR with Tarek. I'd say like it is more prevalent now. Brazilian players are beginning to mix intermingle with just NA types, and I think the main question I have is definitely like, how do your comms function there? Are they really proficient in English, or like how did it go for you?
Like for the vast majority, they all spoke pretty fluent English. Duma was probably the least fluent speaker, but he definitely was getting a lot better. Kind of always hearing English in the comms and
That's why
things
he's the
like
best
that.
player. That's why.
Yeah, because he didn't understand anything. He's just going around and shooting people. But it honestly, they had said to me that they felt like after like kind of a monthish, they felt like the callouts are better in English than in Portuguese for whatever reason.
Oh, wow.
That things were more precise and not as long. Like a Whitehall would be like untrained Whitehall would be something much longer
Oh,
in Portuguese, and it felt like it took longer to communicate it for some reason. I don't know. But honestly, the comms weren't too bad. There's only a couple rounds where things kind of communication errors kind of cost us a round or two.
yeah. I'm sure it happened like way more at the beginning
Yeah,
than later.
definitely.
Actually, what can you say about Doom? It's Dumau or
Duma.
Duma? Duma?
Yeah.
Okay, so Duma, I'm pretty sure he plays for Godsent now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what? And I think people are looking at him a lot as definitely the rising talent on that team. I think it's kind of between him and Phelps for me, for who's usually on top for impact in a game. I guess how would you describe his play style for people that aren't as familiar?
Honestly, he kind of has like a simplest Zywoo-esque playstyle. Like he's always like he baits sure a little bit, but like he's always going a 1v4 is always possible when Dumas on the server.
Oh, okay.
He will just make something happen out of nothing, and he's a really aggressive rifler, and he was even IGLing at the end of
Oh, wow.
for a portion of it, and he's just a really smart player, honestly,
Cool.
for how young he is. Honest, like I think he's 17 now.
Yeah, he's really young. I think he's 17.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yep, 17.
Dumau Bates. That's the episode title. Dash Swisher.
We would always be like, we would joke or something like, Duma, why are you baiting? Because like he'd be like a 1v3 or something. He'd be like, oh yes, I bait, I know. All the time. It is like kind of brokenish English. Yes, I bait. Oh man.
Okay, I'm also interested. So, how has practicing in North America been over the last, I guess, since quarantine started? I mean, I think it's pretty. I guess I mean, you've always really practiced in NA, so it's not like you have a point of reference necessarily.
Mhm.
But has it felt more sparse in terms of practice partners and things, especially since Valorant came in?
Definitely. Like with all of the tier 1 teams leaving to Europe, scrims have kind of definitely taken a tank. I think more so recently they've kind of been more on an uprise. We have our few teams that we like to scrim that actually practice and not just run around for the majority of the time.
Right.
Which surprisingly is a lot of teams. Top MDL teams just on nuke will push lobby 15 out of 15 rounds with shotguns. Like why waste our time?
Very efficient practice, of course.
Why waste our time? We'll leave
God
a
damn
scrim
it,
if they're
extra
really
salt.
doing that. And it's just like, why waste our damn time?
Do you think the addition of cash cups have helped sort of add to the practice element in terms of like more teams being able
I think so.
to have good practice around?
Yep, I definitely think so. Because I feel like that's kind of honestly when they started to get better again. We're seeing more actual executes, more teams playing together a little bit more together. But more so like I feel like let me look at the bracket. I'd say like over half the teams, there's like a big gap in MD. Like there's a top 2 or 3 teams in MD or in Premier, and then there's like a big group of maybe like 7 or 8 teams that are all kind of around that same level. And I think just this little bit of practice that they're kind of putting in the more work, will kind of almost take them up to that next tier.
So I'm gonna make it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Welcome.
You're talking about like the RBG Recon 5 sort of teams, right?
RBG, Recon 5. I don't know if Recon 5 is scrimming recently. Secret Club, Third Impact, especially. They put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
We like to scrim them. Rise, GGPR. Teams like that.
Okay, actually I'm curious. This is a little off the schedule, or the listing of topics, but I'm curious how you would tier the NA Premier teams then. So what would you say is like, I'll say it like this. What would you say is the S tier? And S tier is teams that can win Premier this season. Like that they actual very likely to make it. Probably put like 3, maybe 4 teams here.
It would be the 4 would be just Triumph, High Coast, us, and Extra Salt. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's that's pretty clear. Yeah. I would agree with that.
I think depending on whoever has a good week, that week of playoffs, that's going to make them win Premier. All these, we can all beat each other, I believe. And,
outside of those 4, which team would you say has impressed you the most this season?
Probably RBG.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that too.
I think so.
Having played them, I feel like sometimes their exec is coming and you still like, oh, we just weren't in the perfect way to counter it, because we knew how to counter it, but if we don't have the perfect nades we went over to beat it, then it's just like, it's too good of an exec. Like, what the hell? We can't do anything about that.
Hex is having a really good season.
Hex is really good, actually. Okay, let's just start jumping into some of the teams, actually. Because we just mentioned that RBG, I think that we've talked about them before, but Swisher, what's your opinion about RBG as a lineup? Maybe just like, actually, how about like their team structure or like players that jump out to you?
It was kind of sad to see I think they had 2 members leave for Valorant.
G-Man 2 and
we're bad for not knowing.
Pony.
Yeah. It was kind of sad seeing that, because I think they've been together for seasons, many seasons. But I feel like that honestly has to help.
It was legitimately like 2 years.
2 years?
As an advanced team, by the way.
Or like a year and a half or something.
Massive credit to them for
that's crazy. That is crazy.
I feel like that's why we're seeing them play so well, because they still have those core 3 members of Wiz, Chop, and Walko. No, Wiz, Chop, or Wiz, Walko, and Hex.
Wiz, Hex, yeah.
Yeah, Wiz, Hex, and Walko.
Those core 3 still obviously play really well together and really enjoy playing with each other, and that kind of it's got to help kind of push the Wolfie and Chop duo to kind of perform a lot better and feel more included.
I actually asked Wolf yesterday how to pronounce his name. It's just Wolf. It's not Wolf.
It's just Wolf?
I was surprised. I was actually surprised about that.
So there's just extra letters there for no reason.
Yes. They're all silent. After the first F, it's all silent. It's just an extra FE, yeah.
What a weirdo.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I can tell they like each other. Okay, I have one little like anecdote about this team. I was watching one of their demos because I was like anti-stratting them, and they were talking about at the end of a train game that they lost to Extra Salt. They were in voice chat, and I think it was like Walko, Hex, or Wiz, like some combination of those 3. 2 of them were talking to each other, and they were asking about each other's mothers in the voice chat. And I was just listening in, and I was like, "Why? It's so funny. I hear this on a demo. Like they were talking about each other's families. Like they're really comfortable with each other. Like if that's any insight, I don't wonder if they thought anybody would ever hear that.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Man.
Okay, so I'm glad to see like lineups like RBG stick together though. Like this is the thing that I've really tried to push in stuff I've written, at least about NA teams, is that the longer you guys stick together and the more longevity you have as a roster, the more organizations will be interested in picking you up, because they're not then picking up a roster that's going to be making a player change every like 1 month, every 2 weeks, which a lot of these teams do, by the way. In fact, I think this Premier season might have had some of the most roster changes in a couple of seasons at the very least.
Feels like it.
So yeah, not only do you build that rapport with each other, you're also incentivizing orgs to pick you up.
Because what?
Sorry, do you guys think the reason why there are more changes now is actually because there's more money to be had and people are actually taking it seriously and making cuts they were always supposed to make, or is it just more of the same?
Probably a combination.
Yeah, I think it's more of the same, but like I think what you're bringing up with the more money thing, it's kind of like you have more events now to test your lineup. So, like, you know, after one cash cup and one qualifier, you kind of like, oh, okay, who's doing really well, who's fitting in, and who's like the odd man out or something like that.
Also, teams are giving like upcoming players a bit more of a chance because they're noticing them through cash cups. Like maybe they get knocked out by a team in advance because one player really stood out and destroyed them or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old like local LAN thing where if a guy does really well, even if you beat him, sometimes you'll just recognize that like, oh yeah, I remember you were owning us. Let's switch over to something Mix can talk about. Extra Salt, your old team, your old guys. This team won DreamHack Open and very convincing, super convincing victory, actually, especially in the grand finals. I mean, the maps were kind of close here and there, but it actually felt to me like Extra Salt was in control for the entire series after probably the first 8 rounds. After the first 8 rounds, I felt like there was never a moment where I was like, oh, Payne's making a comeback here or anything like that. So
there was that like 8-round spree on Train where it was like, oh, Payne might get a map, but then they just got locked out of it immediately after.
Extra Salt was already up like 10 rounds though, or something it was crazy.
11-4 maybe.
Yeah, something like that. It was just a pretty dominant half for Extra Salt on the T side of Train. So Mix, did you expect this? Did you think this team was going to reach these heights again?
Yeah, I mean, I expected them to, go back in NA, especially with the teams that are currently there, and just absolutely fucking dominate. Pretty much win, most of their series and stuff, and win events like this. I think even if they played LULquid, considering the state LULquid was in, I probably would have put my my odds on them to beat LULquid in like a best of 5.
Do you think so?
With the conditions LULquid was playing in,
Fallen on 150 ping,
Fallen was dropping like 7 kills on a map a lot of the time. So
Fallen was like 150, NAF had like 80 ping, and also just with LULquid, it's like so much. It's so different being like going from playing with playing together in a room, like playing in a facility together for like a few months, and then going back home and playing this like event like where you're all just like totally separated, and it can add like a lot of randomness to it. So I definitely expected Extra Salt to come in, and I'm glad they're like candidly winning these events because I think they definitely should be. And OC is just like a class above anyone else in NA right now that's not on EG or LULquid. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I think OC, like I think people in NA kind of knew he was having his rise. Like, I mean, you were mentioning it before that kind of like at the tail end of you guys being signed to Cloud9 originally, that it was kind of like, is it OC number 1, Floppy number 2 now? And I think he's really making a statement that.
You mean drop by Cloud9?
Yeah, when you were dropped by when they were dropped by Cloud, when that lineup was originally dropped by Cloud9. Yeah, it was, and why, like, okay, actually I'm gonna throw this out there for other people. If you think, or for Note and Swisher, if OC were included in the original C9 lineup instead of Woxic, do you think they would have succeeded more?
Yes.
100%.
100%. I think there's zero doubt in that sense. He's just been playing absolutely nuts this entire year. Like so for example, his tournament rating in this DreamHack event was 1.38 over 10 maps. His tournament rating for the year, like all of 2021 so far, is 1.37. Like that's some ridiculous consistency to have. And with being an opper, he's putting up like simple numbers in North America right now, and you just can't doubt the fact that he's playing at that sort of level at this point.
Yeah, it also would have just like not just including like the level he's playing at, but it would have helped with the chemistry right off the bat and having like at least like 2 players that had played together before on the team, because the original roster literally was just 5 people that have never played on a team, with each other before. So even just having like 2 people kind of like having that same chemistry carrying over would have been really helpful, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, How does it feel to play against OC, Swisher?
It's not fun. I think there was a round on train. I think the series we beat them just the other day. There was a round on train where he 1v3'd us. I dinked him, and I'm yelling at Pete to just peek him, and he's like, "I'm scared." And he peeked him. He jumped. He was running away. OC killed him. OC wins the 1v3, and then Pete's yelling at me, blaming me. I'm like, "I dinked him." Just pistol him.
See, in Europe, like you have that, but it's just like you see you're up against like some like new Russian team that you haven't played before, and then like you go and check out their stats, and whoever their opera is probably has like a 1.30 rating in CIS currently. So you just know you're gonna get absolutely fucked. Just
Yeah.
whoever, and you know if you're in NA, it's probably like that playing against OC at the moment.
Kind of is.
You gotta feel bad for Floppy though, sitting there on Cloud9 when both OC and Floppy had offers to join. OC was like, "Yo, Floppy, let's not join," and then, you know, Floppy joins. Gotta feel for them there.
Yeah,
I'm
especially
sure
since
OC has to. Go on.
since Extra Salt passed C9 now in the world ranking. This came out like 20 minutes ago or so, and it's just like I know Floppy's bank account isn't sad about this, but I know that like there's probably getting shipped to Serbia, not playing with your I'm sure he's integrated well in terms of, relationships with his current team and coach and Henry and things like that, but at the same time, he's almost like do you think is there like NA FOMO a little bit? Like wishes he was just still here a little bit?
I mean, I'm sure there's a bit, but it's probably exaggerated by the fact that like our team hasn't really been able to boot camp because it's it's literally impossible for us to get a boot camp going. Like we've been trying, especially recently, to find some sort of solution. So it's like that. You're just like visas and lockdowns and COVID and just it's all a fucking mess. And so you can't really get that going. And so he's just kind of chilling with. At least he has like Zeppa now with him. Before he was just pretty much alone in Serbia. Well, Kasad like lives in the same building, but obviously it's not the same as having like someone like Eric that he's actually friends with. Yeah, having him around. So that's a bit better, but it's still just not the same as when you have like your entire team with you and you're all like kind of practicing, whether it's in like the same house like Extra Solid is at the moment, which is pretty beneficial, or just like a boot camp here and there.
I'm curious from your guys' perspective. So Extra Salt brought in MarKE recently for MOTM, and what do you guys think? How do you guys think that changes the dynamic of the team? Maybe improves them, or just any thoughts on it? Swisher, what do you think about MarKE for MOTM?
I still feel like it wasn't maybe the best of move.
Oh, okay.
I feel like they don't necessarily. Fang has been kind of filling in that role of that super aggressive entry fragger recently, but I feel still like Ian is kind of will throw his life away, no matter MOTM would throw his life away no matter what, basically for his team to succeed in the round. And we kind of like, yes, they're kind of doing that, but I don't know if the pressure really comes to it and it's like a super close series, how their entry fraggers are going to kind of run in, like how they would actually kind of feel in that pressure.
So you think on like a high pressure LAN situation that MOTM, I mean, he lived and died by it, but other people, might hesitate?
I think it definitely could kind of come up as a potential issue, but I don't know. We'll have to see. They're going to Europe soon, so
yeah.
I'm excited for that. Move.
I think they needed one. If they picked up Fang, obviously, and then like tried to sort the roles out with Ian, doesn't really work. Eventually, at some point, you have to and then eventually, it's like at the moment, it's like Fang is like the MOTM replacement essentially, and MarKE's more so the Floppy replacement, and it kind of like clears up the roles a bit more. Obviously, I have no idea how they'll do going into Europe with that. Generally, like also they can kind of rely on Jonji to be the guy that will just kind of like go in and just throw his life away if they need to. Yeah, I haven't really seen too much of Fang yet, in terms of like how he plays and how he'll fit in Europe and stuff. So I can't really say too much about how that'll affect them, but I think it was a good change to kind of like to clear up the rules again, and just in general, I think a change like. I think eventually they needed to change out like one of the core, to find someone that like not just like has more potential, but just like to change the team up a little bit,
freshen it up.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I was not sure how to rate the change. At first, I thought it wasn't a great move. Just swapping out MOTM, just because I think he brings like just a different intangible factor on LAN, and that's something that rates the team a little bit higher going forward. But then again, it just seems like bringing MarKE in and removing motms balance their roles out a lot better. Like Sonic was playing really well this tournament, for example, something that we hadn't really seen from him for the last couple of events they'd played. So I think that overall it's helped them, but I'm curious, like you guys said, I'm curious how it'll impact them when they go to Europe and play against some of the better teams that are there.
Yeah, I think that MarKE is. I mean, there's like some. I think you guys have already talked about what they lost when they lost MOTM, but I think MarKE, when I watched him at DreamHack, that I think he's like defaults. I feel like he's really good at getting a lot of information and just playing like just aggressive enough. Sometimes he'll die in defaults, but on CT defaults he almost never dies, and that's super valuable. That he can play like he can be the guy in ladder. On train, just aggressive, and like it's almost like he'll never lose that fight. I feel like that's his home, so it's always just going to be valuable when you can have like an aggressive CT rifler that doesn't really need a lot of support. So
I remember talking to you just before this tournament about RZU coming in for Bad News Bears in place of Jonji, and you're like, "There's only two players that I fear in FPL," and it was RZU, and I think
RZU just has something. RZU has my number on FPL for some reason, and the only other. Like, I don't know what it is, dude. RZU can just headshot me all the time, but like, I feel like he doesn't win a lot, but he just always owns me. Like, I don't know. I know he's talented and skilled and everything. I guess, yeah. Swisher, how was it switching in Rizu for Jonji?
Honestly, we didn't have any practice, not a single game of practice with him. So it was pretty rough, I would go on and say.
Yeah. I understand that.
I was kind of almost in some spots taking over Jonji's role, and Reza was almost taking over my role. Because I knew what kind of Jonji did. When Jeff RZU didn't really know too much.
I see.
But it definitely, we took the only team to take a map off Extra Salt, so
that's true.
On that note, just like MarKE is one of those players I feel like instills fear in people in a lot of matches as well. Just like when he's coming out swinging, dude, he owns some people, and it's just he's across your screen double thinking you with an MP9. It's hella scary.
Especially when Extra Salt goes to Europe, the main thing I'm worried about is their CT side still. Like how we always struggled on C9 because I felt we never really like took enough initiative to like try to like freshen up our CT side and like try to play a bit differently with the players we had. And I think that could be really fucking rough. Depending on how like the chemistry is with MarKE and Sonic both on the team in terms of comms. And then in terms of Fang, who is still like pretty new, like their CT sides when they get to Europe could be really rough, especially if OC isn't able to is like having a game where he's not really able to find like a ton of impact early.
I will say that against Pain on Inferno in the grand finals, one thing I noted is that, and I feel like this is pretty prevalent in terms of just teams at the highest level in general, and I'm curious about your guys' thoughts about it too, that I've noticed that it feels like there's kind of been a paradigm shift in my eyes, that where like normally you see like a 5v4, and it was kind of like, I think Yakinder opened my eyes to this the most, that basically like when you're in a 5v4 on Inferno, the best thing to do is not just sit back on the bomb sites. And that's what Extra Salt was kind of doing for the first like 8 or 9 rounds. They were just kind of chilling. But then Pain just exec, and they would just always lose. Extra Salt would always lose. So I noticed that Sonic would just get aggressive. And I think OC2 just with the op, like, just peeking all the time, even in man up situations. And I was kind of curious. I feel like that goes against what a lot of analysts would say is like a fundamental of CS, that you should play back in those situations. But I've begun to change my like idea on the matter, where I think now it's like you should just look for if you're in a man up situation on certain maps, it's contextual, of course. Like Train, it's okay to chill a little bit more, but like Inferno, I think everybody's execs are too good now where you don't want to sit back actually. So Swisher, do you feel like your team like prescribed, or like do you guys do that ever? Like yeah,
if you're gonna sit back, then like the most important thing is like just making sure you actually have like nades to do like a proper retake. Like like you have a proper retake sorted out, like with the fucking protocol is. You're not just like heading to the site and you're like, okay, I'm gonna molly this. You smoke that, and then you're just fucking hoping it like all works out. Like you need to have like a set retake. You need to have like the nades to do it. Because I agree. Like we were playing heroic, and there was like 3 situations or so where like this has been like kind of a common sentiment of the team so far is like playing not to lose, and like getting into like those 4v2 situations and like playing like retake B, but like we're doing that when we have no nades to play the retake, and like a 2v4 retake on Inferno B site, especially when you have an op, is like very winnable. Like that's very easy to win.
Yeah.
And so we just kept doing that, kept falling to that trap, like of just playing scared when you didn't have the nades to really get back, like crawl yourself back into the rounds.
I kind of agree. Like, I think coming in, kind of like what you just said, Mix, was the playing to not lose. I think that's a really bad mindset to honestly have. What Nate Madcow has kind of told me, like probably over a year ago now, that like playing to not lose is not the best. It's just better to play to win every round, because it might be the exact same play. You might do the exact same thing in both kind of thoughts, but you're playing it a little bit differently. Like in one sense, you're going to be playing like you'll peak something just like because you're confident, compared to I'm playing to not lose, so I'm just going to hide and wait and wait and wait, which kind of leads to being scared and losing stupid rounds.
Yeah, and it's like that's a mindset, especially in our team, that's been hard to overcome when you have like the intense like hype and pressure that's been built on the team, and like it feels like you have like 5 new players that haven't really been able to play together, so every match just feels super fucking difficult. Every match has a ton of pressure on it, and that kind of just lends itself to just you're playing not to lose, so you don't have to fucking like listen to the community just fucking badger on about you, instead of just playing to win and just actually just trying to win some fucking games.
Bit of a tangent here quickly, but I'm curious on what your thoughts are on madcow now that you've had a bit more time to play with him. Because I talked to Peter briefly a little bit after you brought him on, and that was like I think only 2 weeks or something after you guys had added him. So you didn't have much time with either him or MC. I'm just curious, like what MC brought and now what madcow's brought to you guys.
I think definitely MCE was more of like a strategical. He definitely could help a lot more, like on the strategy side and yelling at people, because he was. I think we had him for like a week, and he would yell at me. He would yell at Alter. He'd call us idiots for doing something, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, Jesus!"
Yeah, actually, this is kind of a bit of a tangent off of that, but a fun fact actually is that like 5 years ago, Alter was on the team that I like, the first ever team that I coached, like ESEA intermediate, just for like some, like random people I messaged on ESEA.
Oh my
like,
god!
It's just kind of funny that like he's kind of like stayed around and I've stayed around.
Yeah,
and that was literally like 5 years ago, and like,
jeez,
I say coach like very
loosely.
Very loosely, yeah.
But Nate Madcow, he's been like he works, I think, Thursdays through Saturday, either Thursday through Saturday or Thursday through Sunday. So he's not able to be there. He wasn't able to be there for the DreamHack matches. But he definitely adds kind of more of like a chiller kind of vibe to the team, because we can definitely tighten up. We definitely tighten up in matches and don't play as loose. But I feel like MCE was definitely more of a coach, so to speak.
Which did you prefer? I guess you didn't have much time with MC, but like, what do you think your team needed more or needs more?
As of right now, probably a mixture of both.
Yeah,
I think one kind of lends itself into the other, and as a coach, it's like you have to like gain the experience and like learn how those things interact, and how like one kind of plays into the other. It's kind of a hard thing to do if you haven't done it before.
I think I might think that coaching is actually the hardest and kind of worst job in this space. Like, no lie, it's so freaking. It's not ever rewarding.
Yeah,
and then you're like constantly scapegoated for
yeah.
losses, and
I've
it's just
learned that like
they don't know. No one
I-
knows what you're doing.
in the future, like when past this team or whatever, once I'm like trying to get more into head coaching, especially in the NA scene, like my biggest scene is gonna be that like the organization, like whatever organization you work for, whatever team, needs to be like properly structured, and it needs to be like I'm the fucking coach. Whoever's the coach, they're the fucking coach. You're the guy that's in charge. You're not just like a 6-man for like the 5-man roster, because like long term, if you have like your 5-man roster deciding all the fucking player moves, you're just gonna endlessly like lead into clicks and like just weird fucking random roster moves where like you get shit like United where they had a prime opportunity when Moose left to pick up Floppy, right? Like before
Mhm.
ES on New York, like
Mhm.
a nice young player, and instead they went for Freakazoid because
Yeah.
that's just what they wanted. Nothing really ever came out of it. And also listening to the players was the reason that org pretty much just floundered out of CS. And so like it needs to be like a proper structure. Like there needs to be like like properly on the same page. Like I need to have control of the team and I need to be in charge because otherwise I'm still gonna be fucking scapegoated if I'm not. And you're still like it's still like your reputation that's at stake. And so I don't want to like I don't want to go like go into a team that like I'm putting my entire reputation on where I don't have that control. And I'm like just kind of bent like left to the player's will almost, if that makes sense.
Okay, let's try to wrap up on some of the teams. So we're gonna go through a few pretty quickly here and just try to give like some brief thoughts. So let's start with Pain. What have you guys liked about Pain Gaming and their upset over LULquid especially?
I think Safi sort of just owned them, honestly. And I think that was a big part of the fact that Fallen's on 150 ping is it sort
Yeah.
of brought me back to the old LULquid where like Device would just tear them apart on maps like Dust 2. When you don't have an opera that's able to compete against like another really good opera on the server, you're just going to get dismantled. And that's what I felt like happened in that match.
Honestly, it felt like LULquid was kind of playing like noobs. It felt like they were like, if I'm gonna be honest, they just kept walking into Safi every round. He was just getting free kills every round.
Yeah,
just
I don't
like-
think it'd be a stretch to say that LULquid wasn't playing like all there. Like they
Yeah.
were. They definitely weren't like fully in this event or in that match.
Yeah, because like honestly, Pain and scrims is a different kind of monster. They finish rounds in 10 seconds every single round in a scrim. But in a match, like what I've been telling like my team is like you just need to take what they give you and then just hold, because they play the most kind of defaulty T side of probably any Brazilian team right now, and
Yeah.
put like re-aggroing and pushing and looking for information will just get you killed almost every time. Because they are just always holding something.
Yeah, I would actually. I'm glad you bring that up because it reminded me. Just like it feels like Pain on CT can be like in your face, pretty brazen, and they'll just like if they take space, they'll just stay there for a long time, and it's super annoying, I think, to play against. But on their T side, it looks like a European team. It really is just like take map control, hold the map control, make a mid round that like all three, like four of them walk one way and one guy just stays lurked, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like if you took the nameplates off, I'm pretty sure nobody would think this is a Brazilian team from their T side. CT, like that shit's crazy. Sometimes it's crazy. Yeah.
Also, I didn't want to tweet it out, but Grim had like the 4th worst map of his career on Dust 2 against Pain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's rough.
I question still how like LULquid is fitting Grim into their team exactly.
What
I
makes you
don't feel-
concerned?
It just seems like personality wise and just I feel like they're not like fully integrating him as well as they could. And obviously like I get that like they have like a lot of fucking star power in that team. Like it's like, who do you make room for in terms of making him feel more comfortable? There's just like a lot of role clash. And at the moment I feel like Grim has obviously had to take up a lot of new roles, especially like tinker spots. He was like playing some of them before, but like especially now with like his like main role. And just like having to do shit like that, I feel like he's not fully comfortable with like the role he's been given in LULquid yet.
I could see that. Didn't he play some of like spots Elige has always played and things?
I think he only took 2 spots from Elige, at least initially. I don't know.
He took some from Elige. Okay. Well, Elige has bounced back just fine. I mean, like he doesn't. It doesn't matter what you throw at that guy. Like,
or sorry, maybe he didn't take spots, but I know that they only overlapped in 2 roles or something like that.
Okay.
It's just that like in terms of like role filling, but also like when you go from playing on Triumph and you go to playing on LULquid with like Elige and Stu and now like Fallen and now like Moses is your coach, it's a lot harder to like find your confidence and like people like Stu especially are probably going to be like on your ass all the time and like it's you really start to like question yourself. It even happens in like our team, right? When like we first started playing and like Floppy was playing a lot of sites with ESEA and ESEA was like just coming from Astralis and like it can kind of wreck your confidence even if like they're not meaning to or they're giving you criticism in like a nice way, but just because it's like such like a different experience playing with someone like that has like played on like a high level and like seems to like know all the right answers and things like that. When you first start playing with someone like that and you're playing sites with them, for some players it can kind of like wreck your confidence, especially at first. Like you don't really feel like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. They're just telling you what to do all the time, and sometimes
Yeah.
you're like kind of you're playing catch up to them.
Yeah.
That being said, I feel like LULquid are in an okay place still. Like, okay, I feel like this loss was obviously really bad, and they should have like serious up and like
Yeah, I don't think it's like panic time or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but they just right. They just
They're playing well.
came in top 4 at IEM Katowice. Like, I think they're on the right track. They beat NAVI in a BO3, you know, and they beat Vitality in a BO3. They beat they rematched FaZe and beat that. Like, their run at Katowice was actually really impressive until the playoffs, where they obviously just lost. So
something that did strike me as odd. I'm not sure if you guys have watched any of the like LULquid documentary vlog sort of things that they have from their boot camp. But their last one from the playoffs of Katowice, like Stewie was really quiet, and I don't know if that's just because they cut out like a lot of the parts where he was being vocal. But even after the match, a lot of the other players were talking, and Stewie was like pretty like dejected. And I guess that makes sense given the loss, but just like he was really quiet, and that makes me wonder if that's like going to be an issue going forward, because he's usually a pretty vocal player, right? So I wonder if that's part of the issue they had or not.
yeah, I guess like switching off of IGL is always kind of like a weird feeling, because that tournament was the first one Fallen called, right? Or one of the first, right?
I think from
So-
the playing stage
Believe me,
onward, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so like, I mean, getting taken off the IGL role entirely, you kind of are finding what your voice should be on the team again. Like, how much space is he giving Fallen? So if he's trying to battle that dynamic, then I can give him a little bit of like leeway here. So I'm not gonna be too harsh on it, but it's just kind of like coming for like losing to Pain here was a bad look, because the maps they lost, they weren't even in them. So yeah. All right, moving on. Let's go to another more local team, High Coast. High Coast made it to the playoffs here of DreamHack Open. You know, this team. The main point I had for this team that was really weird is that I've kind of heard things like MOTM is calling, and I heard that he's calling Ben Lee. I talked to Ben Lee, and Ben Lee said he's still IGL, but MOTM is calling on Vertigo and RCF. Swisher, you're saying that RCF used to be an in-game leader also, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
how do you think this dynamic works between? Okay, this team is kind of weird for me. I'm not gonna lie, the
I
roles are a
agree.
little strange. Ponalone has switched off the hop. We've talked about him on this podcast that Ponalone is pretty sick and sweet, but now he's like kind of the secondary to RCF more so. And then Ben is calling, but not every map. And then RCF has a lot of ideas as an in-game leader, and he's like a really aggressive opper. I think Bu is actually somehow holding up decently. Like he just knows what his job is, so he's doing fine there. But Swisher, how does this team makeup look to you?
I think obviously the removing DJ kind of was a shocking look. Because I think he was IGLing beforehand on that team.
Is everyone IGLing on this team?
DJ was the IGL before. I'm like 90% sure.
Okay.
And they removed him, and I think I'm pretty sure. Well, from like playing against them, it definitely feels like Rodrigo's mid rounding RCF, at least a little bit. But I can definitely see a mixture of Ben, kind of is Ben's IGL. But honestly, I don't really that team makeup is just so odd. Like you have just MOTM, who's just like a hard entry. Well, if he sticks with the team, that is. And then you kind of have Boo, who's a lurk, and then Pone and RCF, who are both oppers, and then Ben, who's kind of more like another lurk-ish.
Yeah.
They don't really have a second or third in.
Yeah, I think they're maybe trying to make it Ponalone now, which is strange. That's just weird to me. I respect High Coast for making it to the playoffs here, and I actually think their win over Triumph was pretty exciting. I wouldn't say it's convincing. Like, I mean, 2 of the games that they won were triple OT and single OT. I think
Triumph had match point on both of those maps, 15-14.
Exactly. So good call there. Like, this is a weird look, and I'm just curious how this is going to move forward for this team personally. Like, I don't know if they're comfortable with this lineup or what. So I think it's kind of a wait and see team You know, is that fair for you guys? I feel like they can, like Swisher said, they can win Premier on like a really good week, but they also like, I don't know. I feel like they could just also collapse too. It's strange.
Yeah, they don't strike me as a team that's consistent yet, or like even one that I can say will be consistent soon. They're just a really odd team right now,
Yeah.
especially given like the weird role overlaps where there's apparently 4 people IGLing at different points. I don't know. Just seems like too many ideas are on the table for them, and that's just gonna get confusing going forward unless they resolve that really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Let's move off teams actually. We have a handful of Patreon questions. We actually got 4 this time. We'll do 3 now, and then one will kind of take the place of the question of the week just for the show's flow. So the first one here is from Patrick Rowland, and he's saying, as a huge OG original Gambit fan, I would love for you guys to talk about where that team stands as they are right on the cusp of top tier CIS play. He submitted this question admittedly before Katowice, but just as a precedent that I'm setting, I'm not gonna answer questions until someone pays at least once for the Patreon. So this was actually before. So this guy was like, "Ooh, are Gambit gonna be good?" And now they're good. So like they're like obviously good. So I guess what do you guys like from Gambit? Because we didn't really talk about Katowice so much. We kind of skipped the pod.
I mean, obviously Shiro's sick,
Yeah.
but honestly, their IGL really impressed me as well. In this tournament, like he played really well. They called really well.
Is that not NAFNI, I think?
It's Nathany, yeah.
Yeah.
I was struggling to remember the name, so thanks.
Yeah.
I think they're a team that I don't really want to rate until we get back to LAN play, though. Like, I don't really know where to put them overall until I can see them play against teams on LAN. Not saying they won't perform, but just the way like pressure gets added on LAN and the way teams just play different. I want to see how they hold up there.
On top of that, I think they're a really young team, right?
Yeah,
Because they were Gambit
yeah.
youngsters beforehand.
Yeah.
yeah. Their oldest player now is like Hobbit.
Hobbit, yeah.
Their average age is 21.1 years.
Yeah.
So-
By the way, love to see that shit. Hobbit just coming back and just fucking spanking everyone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is actually
he fell off for a bit, like on like that Hellraisers roster, but like even back then, I was like, I feel like this guy can still be fucking sick. Like he can, like if he gets another chance, like I always felt like Hobbit. I would like watch his demos. I was like scouting him, just like back in the day, and I was just like, I feel like this guy's still like pretty decent. I could see him being like pretty much exactly what they moved him into, like being a really good fucking like anchor role player type guy.
Yeah. He can get multi-frags so frequently from positions where it feels like there's a lot going on, and he just kind of like in those tense moments can break it down and just like aim at the right spot at the right time, like just picks and shoot. It kind of reminds me of like when Floppy's having a really good round. It's like Hobbit does that a lot, actually, where it's just super solid, just control of situations. Yeah, I think Axile plays a lot of the spots that I'm playing now in Premiere, and just like I'm just watching his demos, and I'm just like, okay, this just feels like really great, solid, standard ways to play everything. And I think the whole LAN angle about how this team will do on there, I think might hurt them a lot because they play like they seem so confident playing without much. Like they get info at sometimes, but they also kind of like they sometimes gamble, and they sometimes are like they break that mold where I was kind of like, I feel like a lot of teams in 5v4s will still push for information. Gambit sit back a lot more than other teams for me right now. Like they don't re-aggress on CT nearly as much as I see other teams do it. And I feel like they just have good setups in the mid-late round. And I don't know if that's always going to work. You know what I mean? Like the crossfire might fold if people throw better execs at them or something.
Yeah, but at the same time, like if they're like sitting back and like playing like that shit's gonna benefit them more on LAN than it will online. Like
Yeah.
I feel like part of the reason for that meta shift is like online, and the fact that taking duels via just peeking people and swinging and taking the fight to people is so much stronger than like trying to sit back and like hold an exec and like try to win a gunfight and the guy swinging with you. Like it's just nearly impossible to do. So it feels like what's important right now on CT sides is like taking initiative a lot and taking the fight to people and taking fight on like your ground.
Yeah, online it feels like everybody wants to fight on their own terms and not be on the back foot ever. They never want to be passive.
Dude,
Okay.
I'm literally even like watching Astralis, and I'm just seeing Dupree just peek James holding an op top mid, just like with like 130 left in the round, and I'm like, Dude, if Astralis if the pre is just like peeking mid every fucking round, just dry and just taking fights, it's like that tells you a lot. Like
about how
it's
it's
yeah.
moved.
It's like that's just what you need to do at the moment. Like that's how you win games.
My question with Gambit is just like, when you reach the level that they have right now, you start getting a lot of teams watching your demos and trying to counter you. And I just wonder, like, going on to LAN, whether they'll be able to handle keeping that level, if that makes sense. Like that's where a lot of teams they reach a plateau, right?
It depends on like the pressure they're feeling by then.
Yeah.
Like at the moment they'll be feeling the pressure that all eyes are on them. They're no longer like the underdog. Like we go into our EPO group, we play Navi first, and then we play Gambit, and we're underdogs against Gambit at the moment. So like the pressure is literally, even though we're like the hype roster or whatever, like the pressure is more on them, at least in their minds, especially to win that match versus us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one, just how they handle the pressure over like the next few months of like being considered like one of the top teams in the world, and then like how that transitions over into playing on LAN.
Cool. Yeah. Second Patreon question is from Fursock, and he says, at what point in the history of CSGO was it the hardest to grind up through the ranks of Open to MDL/Premier, and at what point was it the easiest, specifically for NA?
I feel like right now it generally might be the easiest. Like that seems like the easy answer, but also it just seems like the correct answer at the moment, just with the mass exodus.
I think
it does, but wasn't there a point
ago,
where you could go straight from Open to MDL? Like, wasn't there a point where like popping Open got you into MDL or something?
I think that's like season 28 and before, like around then. And I think we're in season 36 or 35 now. So yeah,
36.
Yeah, I guess when they say it in terms of like leagues, I guess I was thinking more of just like in general climbing your way up into the top echelon of the scene.
I think like 6 months. I think when Valorant first came out, I think it was probably the easiest. I think that's when there were a lot of just teams like I don't know, when I feel like it always feels like it's getting easier, but then it's also just because like I think my game knowledge is increasing, and so I feel like I'm more critical now of lower tier teams where it's like, oh, why are they doing this instead of that? And it's like, oh wait, that's because they only have played for a year, or something like that, so they don't know. Swisher, do you think it's easier now or before?
Definitely now.
Yeah.
Because Jonji always talks about how I think in season 34, the championship final for MDL was between Chaos and Mythic.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. That's what I mean. Like 6 months ago, it was really weak.
Yeah.
Like that is not saying Mythic is a bad team, but they're a stream team.
Yeah.
And how are they the team that's in the final?
Mythic are the MDL gatekeepers. Like if they are the MDL gatekeepers. They shouldn't be in the grand final.
Yeah.
They should be the team that you have to beat to be like, okay, now I'm an MDL team.
Yeah.
Listen, they had a major Grand Slam winner.
They should. Mythic should always be, like, in my eyes, the 5th best team in MDL. If there's like 4 above them, I feel good about the season. If they're near the top 2, that's just like, what the hell is happening? Yeah.
But also now that they don't have Katie, I don't think they'll maintain that level. Like Katie brought a lot to that team.
Yeah. She did bring a lot of firepower. Dude, like random headshots all the time. Just like, all right, thought we have this round. Oh, 2v4. Okay, yep. Katie just headshotted 2 of us. Oh shit, what's happening?
Katie just cheating.
Yep. Essential Worker wants to know, with the international rosters being more of a norm and Kerrigan being on phase, could Simple ever be saved from his teammates, or are the Navi Kalashnikovs preventing that?
I think Simple can do whatever the fuck Simple wants to do. Like, in terms of like, in his obviously right now, like, yeah, I don't think he can just leave Navi. That's probably very expensive.
Yeah.
But once his contract is up and stuff, like, I mean, if Simple wants to join a team, like that team's probably gonna make room for Simple, no matter like what fucking team it is. So I think someone like Simple, for the most part, pretty much has like their pick of the litter when it comes down, especially in like a free agency time, if they're like not under a contract.
Didn't Simple just resign or something though? I remember he had well, he had. I think his contract was approaching the end, or it might still be approaching the end. I'm not sure, but I feel like he resigned recently, so I'm actually not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was within the last like 6 months or something.
Yeah,
and it was like, if I remember correctly, or maybe I'm just making this up, it was like a 3-year thing. It's usually like that for most people. So, I feel like the thing with Simple is that he respects that the other people around. It's almost like Simple now is like not enough killer instinct, whereas before on LULquid he was too much of a dick. Like now he's actually like, oh, I understand. Like everybody on my team is like, we have to put some things together. Boomich has got to learn how to call better, and it's like, I don't know if I would like empathy Simple. I want cutthroat Simple. I think I kind of like if he was like, I demand a trade right now to FaZe, put me on that team. I mean, what are I don't know what would happen there. I feel like he really holds all the chips in these kinds of deals and situations.
The thing with Simple is that I think Navi is like the organization he wants to play for. Like when he was a kid, Navi was like the organization he looked up to. It's like if you're a 12-year-old kid in Denmark right now, you want to play for Astralis, right? It's the same sort of deal where like when you make it onto that team and it's the team for your region, like why would you really leave it? It's bringing you a lot of fans as well. But you're right, if he had that killer instinct, like you would think he would want to go onto a championship winning roster. His buyout's probably like 3 million, 4 million, so good luck with that. But
I mean, realistically though, like if he wanted somebody removed from that roster, he could remove anybody he wanted to.
Oh yeah,
Probably,
I feel like if he wanted to kick Boomich right now, Boomich is gone.
He could, yeah.
Boomich is on the streets. Like, yeah.
Hypothetical for you guys: do you think kicking Boomich and adding a different IGL would be better, or kicking Flamey and adding a different player would be better?
I'd probably go with Flamey first. I'd probably just try like getting rid of Flamey and just like having Bit play full time.
Really? What about Monzi? Just kidding. I have no idea if that guy's good or not.
He can't yet. He's still 15.
Yeah.
And Bit just fits in better into like the spots that Flamey plays, like kind of like those anchor roles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That dude's aim is fucking crazy. He's made
he plays
for
Inferno, right? I believe.
Inferno and
was it Nuke? No. Flamey still plays ramp there. Jeez, it's been a while since Katowice happened.
I'm pretty sure he only ever played Inferno. That was like the map that they deployed him on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just only Inferno.
He does play Vertigo pretty well, but that's the only other map that he plays, and I don't think Navi even play that map. So,
right,
that's the promo bin.
Yeah, it's just been Inferno lately. Yeah, yeah, I'd probably go with Flamey also over Boomich. I feel like from what kind of Scrawny was hinting at last time about the comms on Blast and like what the Russian or the what they're hearing from that team, like Boomich is actually doing enough. And it's kind of weird though, because
because like I don't know like any other IGL and CIS region that it'd be like feasible to replace Boomich with. That like,
what if you could add Nafani?
Like I don't know. Even then, it's like you're adding this like
I don't know either.
Yeah, it's like
young unknown IGL.
True.
Yeah. It's like putting these people into a team with Electronic and Simple, like just upping the pressure so much. I feel like it's really hard to do. Like it's already hard with Boomich, so I feel like at this point, I'd rather just stick it out with Boomich for a bit more.
Bring Zeus back.
Bring Angel from Valorant. Bring him back.
On today's list of worst ideas on a server time.
Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, I think that's enough for the Patreon questions there. We have one more, of course, but that'll be at the end of the show. Let's get into just some of the brief news topics we've got here. The first of which I think most NA people are I would say easily most excited about, is the fact that Obo has now joined EG in the stead of Ethan. So we can approach this from two angles. One just being, I mean, obviously Ethan is gone, and two, like, let's start with the bad actually. So Ethan leaving. Okay, how does this hurt EG in your guys' eyes?
I mean, if you want to be real, I think at the moment it could only really help them.
Really? Okay.
How they've been playing. I like the move. Well, even then, it's like I don't know. It is kind of questionable in terms of like how much your form can really change just by like removing one person and just adding removing one player that's like not even like your IGL or like your op or anything, and just like adding someone else that pretty much just completely fits into his roles and is like, all things considered, kind of like similar personality wise. Like they're obviously very different people, but neither of them are gonna be like causing much of a fucking ruckus in a team, right? They're not gonna be making much of a scene. Assuming things go well. So it's like a good move, I think. Like obviously they lose a lot of experience losing Ethan, and I think they all they are like kind of like different players. Like so I don't know, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but honestly, all in all, I just figured it was like a pretty good move to make.
Feels like a
Kinda
1-for-1 move almost.
Yeah, it's just like a lateral move.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think my only concern is that back on the complexity lineup, apparently Obo like didn't learn nades or something, or had trouble learning nades.
He
or
had
something
trouble
like that.
remembering nades, I think.
Yeah, and so if that ends up being an issue with EG, then I can see that having a bit of an impact, because some of those positions that Ethan played were like he'd use his nades pretty early, I think, and would usually get fed into like banana and go for 2 and just get traded out. So that could be troublesome, but I think like most of those nades are relatively easy.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be a mega issue if they're going to use him in that sort of role. So yeah, I think it's a 1-for-1 like lateral move.
I'm hoping that kind of got blown out of proportion a little bit. The
Yeah.
not knowing nades thing for Obo. I think that I'm hoping that was just like a one-time thing, because like I mean I don't know if Ethan was like the mega nade expert for EG or anything. Anyways.
Yeah. I definitely like looking at it because I know like previously that EG roster was definitely having some COVID issues, related issues with traveling and not wanting to travel. Some people did, some people didn't, and that's kind of I think why they dipped out of 4 tournaments at the end of the year.
Oh yeah.
Because I think 1 or 2 people on the roster didn't want to re-travel back to Europe. The rest did. So obviously that can kind of have a little bit of inner turmoil on the team, right?
Oh yeah.
If half the team really want to go and play, and the other are like, I really don't want to risk my health for that.
Yeah.
And then with Obo leaving complexity because he didn't want to be in Europe, and now he's going back to Europe.
Yeah, I get that angle, but also it's like for Obo, it's like a little bit more of a you got to reset. Like
NA
obviously, yeah, it's just so much different when like you weren't expecting to be in Europe for the entire year, and then you were just suddenly on the road, like in like the UK, and you're just with Rush, and like it's really stressful just being in that situation when you weren't prepared for it at all. Compared to like EG, where most likely you're all just gonna be like boot camping together if you do go to Europe. You know, like what the plan is. You know, when you're going back home, that type of thing.
I think the key thing people are missing with that whole thing is that in my interview with Obo, he said that he was open, even back then, like right when he left, he said he's open to boot camping in Europe for long periods. The only issue he had is that there was no end in sight to when complexity would come back.
Yeah.
And that roster was picked up to be like a team based out of Dallas, out of complexity's like really sick facilities.
Exactly.
But then they moved to Europe, and all the players are obviously European except for Rush and Obo. So when are they ever going to come back during this whole year?
Yeah.
He had no idea. So now at least he has some prospect of when he can return.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of clear when people are saying like, oh, but Obo left. Like, is he a wild card? Is he gonna just get up and leave? It's like I don't like just read Note's interview with Obo. Like he's super level headed. Like he just clearly was in an uncomfortable situation where it's kind of like when, and I can relate to this. Like when I was playing for ASEO in the team house in Oklahoma, it just was like they're like, I don't know, this just feels like an uncomfortable situation. Like I just don't really like it here, you know, like for a multitude of reasons, and living here at length for, you know, however many seasons, it's just like that's not how I envisioned my future. But you know,
were you there when the power got cut and all the sheets got taken away?
No, that was like I like did my like stepping. I like left the team before that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, before he left, he actually passed over me to coach his team, and he got Bibby instead.
Oh, well,
I do remember this still.
I forgot what happened with that and why we got him. I think he just showed us a lot. Bibby showed us a lot on day 1 that was like really effective, but then day 10, I can't say the same thing. So yeah. Okay, just a couple more topics here. It looks like Vitality are giving up on their whole 6-man thing. Nivera is out completely, and I think Nivera has actually announced that he is like very out. Like it was like I feel like one day I heard he was like they're not going to continue with it, and then Nivera's like, yeah, I'm not going to continue with it. Like he wanted to be the guy that ended it. It's like you know, being on the side of the breakup. It's like I'm breaking up with you, Note, and then Note's like, no, I'm breaking up with you. Like yeah.
I mean, that's the type of smart. He fucking 2 events with Astralis, and he was like, "Yeah,
Let me cash in.
yeah, you guys just aren't good enough for me.
Yep.
I'm leaving you before eventually the 6-man
Before I
roster."
get bench skied.
Esatag, the GameStop stock of the CSGO scene.
He is definitely.
Absolutely inflated his stock and then sold sky high.
Yeah, and it was actually mostly propelled by Reddit narrative. So also like the parallels don't
that's-
cease there, don't
there
end
you
there.
go.
That's pretty funny. But when Patrick on the op fucking absolutely owns Navi, you'll see.
You mean when he wallbangs them? Because I mean that's what he's good at, right? He's just wallbang. He's the wallbang king. Actually, he is. So why does he know all these wallbangs and timings?
Because he's fucking insanely smart.
He just
honestly.
studies those for hella. It's actually kind of sick. Yeah.
The thing
okay,
is, if hold on quickly, if Vitality's 6-man roster experiment failed, poor Bubsky, man. That's all I have to say.
Swisher, would you bring in a 6-man to Bad News Bears?
Myself, I just don't like the whole 6-man roster idea. I know Pete doesn't either. I'd rather have 5 people that mesh well together and just learn how to get past your own faults within a team. And if you feel like you have a bad map or somebody plays bad in a certain spot, just work on it.
Yeah.
I feel like, I get that, but also I feel like there are natural limitations to everything, in terms of like how well someone can naturally play position, or like how like someone's peak at like just like a natural position, or just in general. And like I think it made a lot more sense to do with like the intense schedule of last year, and even like when like the LAN team was still, when we still going to LANs and like people were getting burnt out from shit like that. It made a lot more sense for like the top teams to do, but obviously long term, I don't know how well it would have actually worked out for them. Like you need like, because especially to do that, you need like a really like solid like rigid structure in the organization, like Vitality had with XTAS and shit like that. It's like really hard to make work. It has to be like a really proper thing.
I would almost argue the opposite. I feel like it makes more sense to do during the online era where there's way too many matches, and that it would be way more difficult to implement when we go back to LAN. Because then you're in like the middle of a best of 3. You're swapping out your players on a PC. It's just going to be really weird, man.
It seemed like the idea teams had more for like LANs and stuff, especially like Astralis. Like I don't even think this will really work now, because it's like who wants to be a 6-man and just not play. But it was like the idea was like you have like 6 or 7 people that you have like you can swap out so people can take breaks and stuff like that. Because obviously historically that's been like a huge problem, especially with like all the travel you do in CS.
I will say that I feel like Nivera just felt like I've already said this on this podcast before, but I felt like Nivera was just way too much of a one-trick pony. Like he's just early round aggressive opper. Like that's all he felt like he was good at, actually. And then once teams scouted him, like peeking down mid on Inferno, the 3rd time you play Astralis is not going to work. Like it couldn't work the first time because they're like, what the hell is this kid doing? But then after a while, it's like, device is just holding you now, so you're dead.
Yeah.
So
I like how they like tried to add like a new dimension with Nivera.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of worked at first, especially, but I still feel like long term, like the thing Vitality is still going to end up lacking and sorely needing. It's just like a second like star rifler that can just hang. Like you don't have to be like on Zywoo's level, but like consistently like not even like electronic, just like even like a borderline like top 20 rifler. Like I feel like would take that team to like such even like an even higher, more consistent level
for Vitality.
Yeah,
I agree. I think you're right. If it were like if they got Ethan,
I was literally about to say that. I was like, if they literally had like a French Ethan, like they could just put on that team, like they'd be so fucking sick.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they even said, I think they've said like past this lineup, they're gonna go like international. I'm pretty sure that was what they.
Oh,
that was what they said when Shocks joined. They said that like this is like the final lineup that was gonna be like full French. Obviously, there was the Nivera theme, but that's like. This was like
Nivera's Belgium.
This is like pre-COVID, so the world hadn't fallen apart yet.
I don't know, man. Apparently, Zywoo's like extent of English extends to no, and that's about it. So that's like concerning.
True.
Listen, Zywoo can probably learn English in like 3 days.
I feel like he probably has been working on his.
He plays FPL in Europe.
Yeah, he has like a talent agency behind him too. That's like helping him with a lot of different branding stuff.
Sure, I doubt he knows like no English, but he probably also doesn't want to like speak English. Well, I think he doesn't want to like speak English when he's getting interviewed on stage. Like that seems very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I think he seems like he's more shy than like not proficient to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just like because we kind of skipped a pod we usually would have covered after Katowice. Let's just like flash back to that. Okay, like one take from this event from you guys. What's something you note at Katowice that just kind of like struck your fancy?
Virtus Pro making the finals.
Yeah.
Get fucked, Scrawny.
Yep. Shout out to Scrawny on the last pod saying something along the lines of VP being bad. Whatever kind of hearsay that was, I was not there for it.
Dude,
I
he
mean,
owes us
all
all
the jerseys,
jerseys
so-
now. He did that
Yeah.
jersey bet on Twitter. He
Yeah, he
said
did do that.
He said we'll be buying jerseys. So
It's true.
hold him to that.
True.
But on another note, I think something that might go a little bit untalked about is that Junior honestly really impressed me this tournament. The fact that he just came into Furia and played pretty well against some of these European teams, like that. What was a little odd is their constant double op setup on A on overpass was really fucking weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like
That shit's
every
so
team
good.
they played. Sorry.
That shit's good.
Yeah,
Especially
they
with Art.
made it work.
No, because I remember we played them before when they still had Henny, and they did like a pretty similar thing where like
Mhm.
Art and Henny were just constantly opping together on A site. And it's just fucking hard to deal with because like you generally would know what Art's towards B. It was pretty obvious from what I remember. But like when you knew that like Art and Henny were like towards A, or you just weren't really sure, like it's so difficult because they can literally just be on any fucking angle. Like
You can't go A.
yeah, it's like Henny's like somewhere in con probably. Like you don't know where the fuck Art is, and like you don't
Yeah.
know where Art's gonna be in like 20 seconds because it's Art. So it's just absolute madness.
Dude,
Yeah.
every single NAFPL game on Overpass is like if one team starts losing on CT side, they will just bust out 2 or 3 ops, and there's just nothing you can do because no one has the flash procedures or like nade protocols to like get space towards A, so you just are forced to go B at that point. It feels like, but it works in pro games too.
I hate the amount of ops in FPL. The amount of oppers in FPL.
That's why I hate RZU, dude. It's like you're a rifler. Please put this gun down. You're pissing me off right now.
Seems like almost every addition from FPLC is like one of the two is another opper
Yeah.
every month. It's
Yeah.
just like
I'm gonna get myself in the FPL, and I'm an opper. You should see my opping skills when I'm playing against our dry runs. All right,
Oh wow.
I hit some
yeah.
sick clips. All right, fucking double no scope collateral Alex and floppy here to
Holy
the right.
crap.
Fucking quick scope Essa tag.
Dude, phase
Man,
mix
Man,
win.
you're really not helping inflate the stocks of Cloud9.
Yeah,
Seriously,
I'll tell you.
if Alex and Floppy are unable to kill Mix on a bomb site with a dry run exec, like what is happening to this team? Okay.
I mean, I'm just a sick opper. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Right. Well, then why didn't they sign you?
And also, it's maybe-
instead of
it's may-
S-Attack, making S-Attack do it.
It's maybe not so fair when I know exactly where they are and what they're doing, and I'm just somewhere.
Well, you know.
Listen, I'll do that dumbest.
Yes.
Like, I'll piss them off. I'll just like run through a smoke and just like, yeah, he's fucking trolling or dry run.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
but-
you're the NA scrim team of Cloud9.
No, I'm just,
makes
I'm
sense.
like, I'm the NA scrimmer. I'm just, you know.
Yes.
Got it. All right. I think that'll bring us to the final Patreon question of the week. This is from Jigglypuffing. And we already were talking about this actually a little bit, but it's with Ethan making the transition to professional Valorant. Actually, who do you think will be the next player who has achieved top 20 status that will switch to Valorant? This is anything goes here. Let's see.
Man, who's achieved top 20?
Get
I
right.
don't know. I don't think Get Right's gonna do it.
Yeah,
I don't think-
Yeah, he's like streaming. Yeah.
Tarek, I only see being like a streamer. Even if he does like, even if he were to like switch off EG and just go like play Valorant, I don't think he'd like play pro Valorant. I think he'd probably just stream it more likely.
For you guys that need a quick list, I posted it in,
I'm looking right now.
in the chat. Yeah. So I'm looking at like a bunch of these names right now.
I don't see any EU players.
It doesn't feel like an EU player would likely make the switch, right?
There's also
'Cause-
just too many opportunities for top EU players to stay in teams. Like, there's no
Ooh.
incentive really.
I got one. Kiyoshima was top. He was 19th in 2014. I think Kiyo will definitely make the switch. Actually,
Didn't he already switch? Or am I wrong on that?
well, maybe that's why I'm right. No, I'm just
No, I've seen him playing CS still with some.
Is he
people.
okay?
He definitely
Yeah.
hasn't. He might
I
be
thought-
playing it.
I think it was like a thought because Org was teasing an Envy player was making a switch, and I think it was who?
Was it MBK?
Alliance
no.
was teasing between like I think it ended up being happy or something, but Alliance
No,
was
it was
teasing.
no, it was even worse than that. It was XMS.
Oh
XMS.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't think XMS was ever top 20.
No.
No, he was
I
not.
think that was the envy play. That's probably what you're thinking though about Keo.
Yeah. Well, Hiko switched. So that's actually just another person that did it. Automatic. Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
He switched already though.
Yeah. So okay. So if we're saying
P1.
next person to do it,
I don't know.
It's
really
tough.
Don't know.
Yeah.
If
It's tough.
EG doesn't get any better, I could see Breeze maybe.
No.
No, I don't think
No,
so.
don't say that for me, dude. No, as a Breeze
That
fan,
EG roster is
don't.
struggling.
I feel like Breeze could just land on an EU like international roster though. Like he would want to keep playing. I feel like his stock is still pretty high, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way I'm looking at this list is that are there players that whose stock aren't high enough to land on an international EU lineup and get a new organization? And are there players who are like burnt out enough from CS that they would actually want to switch?
So you think Olaf, maybe? When you
Just
say that,
play
I think
overall.
Olaf, I think Caribbean, I think people that have like fallen off on phase. Yeah.
I could see
Dren.
KRB switching.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Caribbean could be there too. Okay,
Nah.
okay. How about this? We'll just solidify it. So everybody has to come up with one person, and that's your bold prediction player. Okay, Mix. Who's your bold prediction Valorant switcher?
I don't like any of these picks.
Okay,
I have to pick one.
Yeah, you have to make one up.
Fuck it, dude. Actually, no, I still don't know. Someone else go. I demand more time.
Hold on here.
Yeah,
Thing is, NAF has been baiting a lot on Twitter about like Valorant switching, but there's just it's the same thing as Breeze. I just don't see him switching because his stock is way too high to not get picked up by another team.
Also, NAF has the twist effect where his girlfriend lives in Europe, so it doesn't really make sense.
True.
Yeah. Okay.
Snacks.
Right.
I'm gonna roll with Snacks.
Snacks. I was kind of thinking
Snacks?
Snacks actually.
Yeah, what's Snacks doing?
He's on like the third or second best Polish team right now.
I was thinking Snacks or Adren, but Adren's on K23. He's still committed to like.
I think
IGL
Adren's. Yeah, I think Adren's playing.
I'll go on and say Sunny.
Sunny.
He's playing for FPX right now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is, but that's okay.
Just as a stand-in, could be big. He could go.
Okay, I will pick. Damn, it's tough. No, not God. I'm kind of thinking Flusha, but I don't know if he's finding anything. Is Flusha? If Flusha pulls the trigger, that'd be so sad. Actually, I'd be.
He said
really
he was
upset.
good. He said he had something in the works.
I hope so. I hope you're right. Okay, I'll do Caribbean. I think Caribbean's gonna switch. I think he wants to be a star again.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's gonna wrap it up. So let's all right. What are your guys' shout outs? Swisher, who are you shouting out? Who do you want to tell who do you want the listeners to check out? What do you want them to check out of yours, etc.?
If you aren't very well informed in the ESEA premier scene, BNB, Bad News Bears, still orgless. Like I said earlier, gas prices are going up. It's $4.20 here in California. We're struggling.
You should go to Costco for gas. I go there and
it's
cheaper. It's cheaper, yeah.
But you can check out my Twitter, Swish CS. I stream every day on Swisher CS on Twitch.
Sweet.
Thank you for having me.
Get this guy a contract. Get this guy an org. Get this man a salary. Okay, this guy needs to stop playing for Twitch subs, and he needs some goddamn $8K a month salary, please.
Oh my goodness,
dude, where are you?
Get him some. Okay, get him 5K. All right, I'm just throwing numbers out
with that.
Yeah,
we're offering. We're the orgs that we're talking to. We're only offering 1,500, and they are asking for 1,500. They don't want to do 1,500.
Oh, 1,500. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. Like,
well,
that's not
1,500.
like a top NA premier team that's playing top 4 NA. There you go. 1,500.
That's what it takes, guys. That's what it takes. Notes, what's your shout out?
You know what? I'm gonna double down on that. Shout out Bad News Bears, 8-0 Premier. Playing very well. One of the only Orgless teams in the top 4 right now.
Sure.
Hit them up.
Nah.
All right, Mix, what's your shout out?
Shout out to ESEA for relentlessly team killing me in warm up every time. Just won't let me spawn and just move around. He just TKs me. I turn on God mode and he turns it off and then kills me again.
Perdogo, what's your shout out?
Shout out to Serto. Good story going up today.
Dexerto?
Yeah.
Okay, are you writing for them?
No, I am a contributor to a single story.
Oh, I know what this is, I think.
Yo, speaking of that, no, when are match fixing? Come on. HLTV release. Caster, tell us.
If I could tell you, I would.
Caster, no.
I'm going for him soon.
Talk to ESEA, man. Talk to ESEA.
Who's getting banned?
I can add him on Twitter right now. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, for my shout out, I'll just shout out the fact that I've got a handful of matches actually left in the season of Premier. We're not doing as well as Bad News Bears, but I've only played 2 matches so far. And yeah, check out the commission in ESEA Premier. We're gonna win a few of these matches. We're gonna beat Valen's team. That's my guarantee. That's my guarantee for the rest of our season. We're gonna beat Imperium.
Playoff bound.
Putting matches would be so nice.
Can you guys still make playoffs?
I think if we win out, we actually can, but we'd have to beat Triumph, which is hard. That's a hard task. So
Not too hard.
I think we can beat a lot of the other teams actually, because once I started playing on it, we beat Third Impact, and it didn't feel that bad. But so we'll see how it goes. Okay, that's gonna wrap it up. Episode 14 over. I think we'll have another episode. Oh, by the way, we're on Patreon, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we got Apple Podcasts. We're using your guys' Patreon money to fund the podcast stuff, and I got to distribute the money to all these wonderful gentlemen that are on this with me. I don't even know where the money's going. So, but I will distribute it.
Help.
Yeah, get Mix a maid to clean up his bed behind him. So.
I'm alone. Why the fuck do I need to clean my bed?
Honestly,
you know what I mean?
I shouldn't be talking. I mean, I'm at my girlfriend's apartment. It's pretty messy here sometimes. So, yeah, maybe I should get one too with the Patreon money. But either way, if you guys like what you see and you want to submit a question, be sure to subscribe on Patreon. I think the minimum is $5-10 or something to submit a question. Either way, get it in and help support this pod. I think we will come out with another one to do some ESL Pro League talk, because we're going to switch gears and make it about EU CS again, hopefully in the next one. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure that Mix is going to have some great tales about Cloud9, who start their group play on the 19th. So that's going to be fun. All right, peace out. Thanks for coming on, Swisher. You were a great guest. Thanks for all the insight. Peace.